programs are as unwise as they are unprecedented. You backed the first full-year continuing resolution for the Department of Defense. Particularly defense has always been opposed to moving in that direction because of the uncertainty that a continuing resolution portends for defense and for the defense industry. Now you are relying on a risky and a partisan budget reconciliation process instead of regular appropriations to fund vital programs. The appropriations process is wherein lies the power of the purse, according to the U.S. Constitution. However, this is still an essential opportunity for oversight, and the Department of Defense under your leadership is in desperate need of it. Your tenure as Secretary has been marked by endless chaos. Your first day in office, the Inspector General, whose job is to investigate waste, fraud, and abuse, was fired. Weeks later, you dismissed the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and 5 other admirals and generals. Your careless sharing of military secrets in a non-secure signal chat, which could have placed American airmen in danger, led to the firing of former National Security Advisor Waltz. You have directly fired several of your top advisors, and the ranks of civilian staff have been decimated within key agency posts, including the Defense Health Agency and the Missile Defense Agency. Mr. Secretary, of all the cabinet departments, stability at the Department of Defense is the most critical for Americans' safety and security. Going after waste in defense and an audit among contractors long overdue, as is a fresh look at defense after what we learned in Ukraine. But that requires thoughtfulness and cooperation, not rash and reckless purges of leadership and rank-and-file staff. And firings based on political loyalty are an affront to what our Constitution and our military stands for and depends on. Meanwhile, this administration has done seemingly everything possible to alienate America on the world stage and turn our back on our allies, particularly Ukraine. Our belligerent trade wars and the dismantling of our humanitarian mission all have implications for our national security. Why would anyone trust us or partner with us when we are busy undermining our allies' economies and encouraging China to fill the vacuum we are leaving by abandoning our humanitarian mission? The bags of flour that I've seen on foreign soil that say U.S. AID, U.S. product of the United States of America will be gone, and instead will be replaced by China or Russia or Iran. Conflicts around the world that President Trump promised he would resolve overnight are only escalating. While we need to focus and prepare for threats to freedom and democracy worldwide, the Department of Defense is mired in controversy and chaos. The American people expect, deserve, and demand better from their military leadership, and the lawlessness across the government must end. This administration has unlawfully dismantled agencies and stolen funding across the government to give billionaires a tax break. America's future soldiers are learning in our public schools. Our future sailors might rely on Medicaid to see a doctor. Our future airmen and women might only have a meal to eat because of SNAP or food stamps, or they may live in subsidized housing. If tomorrow's service members are worried today about having their most basic needs met, then they are being held back from their fullest potential, and that weakens our national security. National security is not just machines and munitions. It requires a whole-of-government approach, which is why this administration must provide us an acceptable and complete budget as soon as possible so we can conduct proper oversight, and why this administration must cease the lawless stealing of appropriated funds. I thank the chair and ranking member, and I look forward to your testimony. I yield back.
This moment between Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro should have set off alarms for anyone who cares about how the U.S. military is actually run. This wasn't a flashy shouting match. It was something more unsettling than that. A detailed, methodical indictment of chaos at the very top of the Department of Defense, delivered right as Congress is being asked to fund it blind. What this moment exposes, plainly and uncomfortably, is a pattern that's becoming harder to ignore. This isn't just about one delayed budget, one chaotic hearing, or one combative exchange. It's about a governing philosophy that treats expertise as disposable, oversight as an inconvenience, and democratic process as something to bulldoze through rather than respect. The Department of Defense is not a startup. It's not a political campaign. And it is absolutely not a loyalty-testing ground. It is a constitutional institution with immense power, enormous responsibility, and real-world consequences measured in human lives. When leadership destabilizes that institution through reckless firings, ignored oversight, and budgetary dysfunction, the damage doesn't stay inside Washington. It ripples outward, directly affecting service members, their families, and the global balance of power. You don't have to agree with Rosa DeLauro on every policy issue to recognize the seriousness of what she's describing. And you don't have to oppose President Trump to expect professionalism from the Department of Defense. Rosa DeLauro isn't asking for perfection here. She's asking for competence. She's asking for transparency. She's asking for the most basic elements of democratic governance: a budget submitted on time, decisions explained in public, and leaders held accountable when they put politics ahead of professionalism. And let's be honest, this isn't happening in isolation. At the same time that internal chaos is consuming the Pentagon, America's moral and strategic leadership abroad is eroding. Allies are being alienated. Humanitarian commitments are being dismantled. Long-standing partnerships are being treated as expendable. And into that vacuum step authoritarian rivals who are more than happy to replace U.S. influence with their own. That's not strength, that's retreat. Real strength is boring. It's procedural. It's submitting budgets, respecting oversight, listening to experts, and understanding that democracy doesn't work when one branch of government decides it no longer needs the others. Real strength is recognizing that institutions matter, and that when you weaken them for short-term political gain, you leave the entire country more vulnerable. The American people deserve better than chaos dressed up as decisiveness. They deserve leadership that understands the gravity of power and the responsibility that comes with it. They deserve a Department of Defense that is steady, accountable, and focused on security, not one constantly distracted by internal turmoil and ideological purges. Because when governance becomes reckless, when oversight is dismissed, and when stability is sacrificed, it's not the politicians who pay the price. It's the troops. It's their families. It's America's credibility. And ultimately, it's democracy itself. That's what this exchange was really about. Not politics as spectacle, but politics as consequence. And that's exactly why it matters. As always, thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting, hit that like button, subscribe for more content like this, and we'll see you next time.